messed up his speech a little bit, and this little video is making the rounds now, going sort of semi-viral. It's not catching fire, but it is good for a chuckle because he says in this clip, Russia must win the war.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war against Russia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oops. That's when he was he was making a speech there addressing what Canada needs to do to address its spending or budget commitments to NATO. And as we saw this week, he did commit another $3 billion to Ukraine when he flew in to mark the second anniversary of the Ukrainian war, now heading into year 3 of this conflict. How close are we to the end? I don't know. Seems like it's still likely to continue for quite some time. The West doesn't seem to be giving up. Ukraine's losing ground. There's no question about that. Russia's on the move. The pro-Russian influencers, bloggers, live streamers, they're saying it's all but over. But here we have the leaders of the West still committing more and more money to a war that is becoming increasingly unpopular here in the West. When it first began, there were many people that I saw in my neighborhood flying Ukrainian flags. Not many, a few. But I would say the support for the war at that time was moderate. Most people not paying a whole lot of attention, which is normal. But for those who were paying attention, I would say support was generally behind Ukraine. But as things evolved and the costs began to mount, we've seen support wane. And now it's at a very low point indeed. In fact, I was looking at a couple of mainstream media sites, CBC, CTV, in Canada today, because I wanted to see what the comments were under their videos with the stories about the $3 billion in additional spending. And I'll tell you, on, I believe it was the CBC site, the YouTube channel, I went down and I scrolled down through all the comments, and I did not see a single positive comment for that expenditure. Not one. Everything was against the war. Now, I don't know if CBC is being hit by a bunch of anti-CBC trolls or if that was all genuine, organic. I can only say that it appeared to be 100% against the war in Ukraine and spending more money, with many people just accusing the government of engaging in a waste of money through corruption and even allegations of money laundering through Ukraine, which, as we know, has been and probably still is one of the most corrupt countries on the planet. Support is at a fever pitch low for the war effort. And yet our governments continue to push forward and do not seem interested at all in going to the table to talk peace. And while that war rages on, it seems there's a new war erupting out in Western Canada. And that is because Justin Trudeau went out west for a recent trip to make an announcement about housing initiatives. There was so many millions of dollars earmarked or committed for housing projects. But here's where the rub begins. he did not tell the provincial government that he was coming out. Didn't have the common courtesy to alert the new Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, that he was going to be in her neighborhood making a major announcement on the housing portfolio. And it's a sign of really disrespect and gives us further indication that there is a deep divide between Ottawa, the Liberals, and Western Canada, and in particular, oil-rich Alberta. It's really rubbed a lot of people out west the wrong way again. And that's because Justin Trudeau has not only committed a bit of a sin there in not alerting the provincial government, the lower government, or the provincial government, not necessarily lower, but the provincial government, that he was coming out. They're also just, understandably, people in Alberta and Western Canada are upset because of Justin Trudeau's war on oil. The steady march toward the electrification of the auto industry, the push to force people to buy only electric vehicles by 2030, even at a time when all studies indicate demand for oil is going to continue to increase at least until 2050. So Danielle Smith, in her State of the Province address, addressed exactly that, the oil industry, the need for oil, the importance of oil for not only the province of Alberta and its prosperity, but for the prosperity of the entire country. Here's Danielle Smith with a clip from her State of the Province address, and then we'll come back into this whole issue surrounding the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Long-term plan is what I wish to talk with you about tonight. Alberta has one of the largest deposits of oil and natural gas on the planet. Through Albertans' ingenuity, hard work, and entrepreneurship, coupled with the foresight of thoughtful provincial leaders including Ernest Manning, Peter Lougheed, and Ralph Klein, our province has built itself up from humble prairie beginnings into an energy superpower with one of the most successful and growingly diverse economies in the world. In fact, that economic vitality has driven growth and opportunity right across the entire country. We have used the fruits of our vast resources to build a province of almost 5 million people with world-class cities, parks, transportation networks, schools, health facilities, and other social infrastructure. And we have established a strategic tax advantage that we are using to further attract investment and diversify our economy. We're doing a lot right, and we have much to be proud of. But as a province, we've also made mistakes, and we need to correct course now while we still have time. Bluntly stated, our province has become unsustainably dependent on non-renewable resource revenues. As an example, in Budget 2023, our province required about $16 billion of resource royalties just to balance our roughly $70 billion provincial budget. Thankfully, we had a good year, and will collect enough resource revenues to cover that $16 billion, with a few billion left over to pay towards our provincial debt and savings for the future. That said, we simply cannot continue to rely on $16 billion or more in resource revenues to balance our budget year in and out. That is a recipe for massive debt and cuts to health and education when the price of oil takes a dip for a year or two or more. It is not sustainable. Some say the answer is higher income taxes or a sales tax. I reject this. We only need to look at some of our fellow provinces and many U.S. states to know that increasing these kinds of taxes to balance a budget is a recipe for economic decline. That will not be the approach of our government. Let me propose an alternative solution. Peter Lougheed had the foresight to create what is today commonly called the Alberta Heritage Fund. The initial purpose of this fund was to invest a portion of Alberta's non-renewable resource revenues each year, so the investment income earned on the fund would eventually grow large enough to eliminate our province's reliance on resource revenues when they ultimately declined. Turns out that vision was well ahead of its time. In fact, several countries, such as Norway and many other oil and gas producing nations around the world, adopted that same strategy, and now boast sovereign wealth funds large enough to entirely eliminate their nation's reliance on resource revenues. In fact, these nations now earn enough each year in their funds to make massive investments in world-class infrastructure and other public benefits that were not previously possible. In Alberta, if we had just reinvested the income earned in our Heritage Fund from the Lougheed government's initial deposits of about $12 billion in the late 70s and early 80s, even without investing another extra dollar, our Heritage Fund would be worth over $250 billion today, earning between $12 and $25 billion per year in revenue. This means we would have been earning enough interest today to make us entirely unreliant on resource revenues. But for a variety of reasons from both within and without Alberta, we did not do this as a province. Of course, now's not the time for us to bemoan what might have been. In my view, the time has come to act decisively and end any further procrastination. Last year, our government passed a law mandating that all income earned in the Alberta Heritage Fund must be invested in the fund rather than spent. During the current budget year, we hope to invest and reinvest approximately $3 billion of surplus and investment income back into the Heritage Fund, increasing its value to almost $25 billion. That's up from $17 billion just a couple of years ago. This puts us back on the right track. In addition, I have instructed our finance minister to limit government spending to below the legislated rate cap of inflation plus population growth, not just during lean years with lower oil prices as we expect next year, but also in years when high oil and natural gas prices result in billions of surplus provincial dollars. Instead of spending all that non-renewable surplus cash on the wants of today, we will be fiscally disciplined, invest in the Heritage Fund annually, strategically pay down maturing debt, and slowly but surely wean our province's budget off the volatile roller coaster of resource revenues. In my view, our province has one last shot at getting this right. We still have several decades during this global energy transition where nations will desperately need our oil and gas resources for their people, and we will provide it to them with the most advanced environmental technology on Earth. So despite this coming year's predicted global economic slowdown, I believe our province is on the cusp of an unprecedented and prolonged energy resource boom, one that will include both hundreds of billions in investment and tens of thousands of new jobs, not only in oil and gas production, but also in designing and building the most advanced emission reduction technologies on Earth. It is going to be an exciting time for our province and for Canada, especially once we finally get a federal government that acts like a strategic partner rather than a delusional adversary. Prior to the end of this year, our government will publicly release a long-term financial plan charting a path to a heritage fund of between $250 and $400 billion by the year 2050. 2050 is also our target for achieving a carbon-neutral economy. Meeting these two goals simultaneously with Alberta technology, determination, and ingenuity will leave an invaluable legacy for future generations of Albertans and Canadians. There is no doubt in my mind we are capable of achieving these goals, but we need to start today and stick with it fervently, year after year. I ask for your support as our government commits itself to placing our province on this path to prosperity that will last long after our last barrel of oil has been produced. We, our children, and their children deserve nothing less. Thank you, good night, and may Alberta remain forever strong and free.
Okay, I'm going to take a real short break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll continue with what is turning into a showdown between Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta, and Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So even though we have this huge government push toward the electrification of the auto industry, it's very clear oil will be needed for quite some time, and it is still the fuel that drives the worldwide economy. So today I happened to take note of an automotive journalist, Scotty Kilmer, who took note of what's going on in Canada with our oil and gas industry. And the headline on his most recent post is Canada declares war, which seems sort of extreme, but no, he's kind of on point, and it's all tied into what Danielle Smith and Justin Trudeau are involved with, and the problems right now with pipelines, getting pipelines built down into the United States, the opposition, the cancellation of pipelines into the U.S. since Joe Biden took office, and Canada's plan to start exporting more oil, not to the U.S., but to other countries, including China, further weakening the West. So here's Scotty Kilmer. He's a very popular guy online, and right on point with this.
Warning saying that the U.S. is spoiled by cheap Canadian oil, and it's going to change. The Canadians, it turns out, for a long time, has been spending billions making a pipeline so that they can sell their oil to people besides us, making a Trans Mountain pipeline so then they can start shipping that stuff out to Asia, right? And they'll have a big market there. The Chinese will buy all the oil they can get their hands on. And now, the Canadian government spent an awful lot of money on this. They lost. It was private originally. The Canadian government bought out. But they say that they're going to get it done. It's called the Trans Mountain Oil Pipeline. You can do all the research you want, you'll see. They've been working on it for years. The Canadian federal government bought what they had built for $4 billion. That's been in red tape, bureaucracy, which the Canadian government is full of. Turns out that the government of the province it's going through was dead set against it. They were all greenies. They didn't want a pipeline going through their area. Now money trumps all, so they're going to be building the thing. And if they get more bids from China and places that they can now ship them from ships on the Canadian West Coast out to Asia, then they're not going to be giving the discounts to Americans that they are, because we're here and we already got pipelines coming from Canada and it's all set up. We'll see what happens with this pipeline. It's not done yet. They're still working on it, but it does have a big thing to make gasoline more expensive in the United States, because we're getting a better deal from the Canadians, and if they can sell it overseas and get more money, then of course they'll raise the price here too. Well, the electric car manufacturing world is starting to crumble. Volvo cut off their funding for their EV affiliate Polestar. They're finding that, golly gee, people don't want to buy these things, right? Originally, Volvo funded a ton of Polestar electric car, and the Volvo car is pretty much a Polestar car. Now, Volvo's saying, bye-bye, Polestar.
Yeah. So, he's talking about what we talk about here sometimes, what I talk about over there. Yeah. But the oil, man, that is the sticky thing. That's the gooey thing that is lubricating and fueling this feud between Ottawa and Alberta. And it seems like there's more going on behind the scenes than we know. Money, 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 money. And politics and power. And then Trudeau going out west and kind of ignoring the premier. It's like, I'm just going to fly into your territory and and make a major announcement and not even include you because I can. Or so he thinks. So Brian Lilly, with the Toronto Sun, had Danielle Smith on his program. Just a brief clip here to highlight that. And please go check out Scotty Kilmer's channel. He's very entertaining and has some very down-to-earth, valuable advice for you if you want anything to know anything to do with cars. Great channel, good guy. Recommend his channel. And Brian Lilly, speaking with Danielle Smith, who calls out Trudeau here and challenges him to call an election. She is obviously very frustrated. What we're getting into here, folks, is East versus the West, and it's just going to get more heated.
With them, including on the health accord. You obviously, needed to sign a health deal, and you came to an agreement that both sides could work with. Maybe not everyone's not happy about all points, but you found agreement. And you've done that several times, but still, Alberta seems to be a prime target for this prime minister and this government. Do you feel that Alberta is under attack from Ottawa far too often by Justin Trudeau and his administration?
Well, I wanted to give the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt that he had just made a decision to put Stephen Guilbeault in the Environment Ministry, and that he wanted to give him the latitude to bring policy forward. But a leader also has to know that when their minister is going off in a direction that is harmful to the country, harmful to national unity, when they're proposing policies that are unachievable and impractical, when they're creating that kind of division, it's the job of a leader to step in and say, whoa, hold on a minute. There might be something that I need to do some course correction on here. So I've been giving the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt that he understands that a net zero power grid in Alberta is not achievable, that he understands that a 2030 emissions target that's too aggressive is actually a production cap, that he has no business trying to put forward a policy to have zero emissions vehicles sold 100% by 2035. When his minister said that we're not building roads anymore after everybody's going through the effort of trying to invest in zero emissions vehicles. Like, at what point does the Prime Minister step in and say that his Minister of Environment has gone completely off the rails? And so that's what I've been encouraging him to do, to come to the table, to work collaboratively with those of us who want to find a solution. I've put forward an emissions reduction and energy development plan that would get us to carbon neutrality by 2050. That's our target. That's the target of our major trading partners. That's the target we should be working forward together. But we keep having an environment minister that is just pulling things out of thin air that can't be implemented. And I think he has to be accountable for that.
He's not just a minister who is picking fights with Alberta. It's every province. I mean, on Bill C-69, it was every single province joined in the court challenge to Bill C-69 because this is a minister that definitely goes too far on C-69, on other issues. He seems to be picking fights at a time when the Prime Minister doesn't need more headaches. Look at the polling numbers. He needs friends. He needs wins. And you don't get that by fighting with everyone. No,
you don't. And look, if that's where we're heading, where we're heading to an election and he's using Alberta as a punching bag to try to win votes in Eastern Canada, it's a same old story, happens over and over again, then let's just do it. Let's just have an election so that this can be resolved one way or another. And if he loses the election, then we move into a different path. And if we win, then perhaps we'll have a more mature and professional relationship again. But fighting this kind of campaign battle when we're trying to get things done and trying to behave in a collaborative and cooperative way is not helpful.
There you go. She is definitely the highest profile premier in the country, one of the highest profile politicians, and I would say more popular than Justin Trudeau.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Okay, so were you guys aware of the protest that turned violent over the weekend in the Waterloo, Kitchener-Waterloo area in Woolwich Township involving Eritrean protesters clashing again? This is seems to be an ongoing problem, not just in Canada, but in countries around the world where people have emigrated from Eritrea, or Eritrea, depending on how you pronounce it. So they were up in Woolwich Township Saturday night. Police have now confirmed that they have arrested one man from the Toronto area in connection with this. There were about 100 people protesting inside a larger crowd of about double that size. And then there was a situation where the protesters blocked the roadway. They were throwing things at police. The protesters continued to come in, and police say there were then physical altercations that took place between protesters and the attendees of this other event. So it was like a community type of event, and I think all of them were basically immigrants from Eritrea, and the protesters went in there, and then things got violent. So this 29-year-old guy from Toronto has been arrested and has been charged with assault with a weapon. The question is this going to keep on happening over and over again, where we see these events in parks and then these protesters show up and then the people end up beating each other with sticks? It's not just happening here. You can find videos of this stuff going on in other countries as well, where there are protests and clashes just like this for exactly the same reasons. It's all about the politics back home for them. And then they have clashes here. So there's that. There's an online harms bill here in Canada that is being proposed, the Liberal government proposing heavier sentences and new regulatory bodies as it seeks to change the laws in and through new legislation to address online abuse, as they put it. It's, as you know, the Online Harms Act, which was tabled today, and it proposes 7 new categories of harmful content online that include content used to bully a child and content that encourages a child to harm themselves. And in fact, it was last night that I highlighted some extremist groups that are working online, targeting youths and children to do exactly that, to harm themselves and engage in activities like cutting, self-cutting, self-harm. Just twisted, strange stuff. These online harms identified in this legislation also include hate speech, content that incites violence or terrorism, content that sexualizes children or victims of sexual violence, and sexual content that is posted without consent. The Justice Minister of Canada says that the government can't tolerate anarchy on the internet, as he put it. He says the safety of the public, the mental health, and even the lives of kids are at risk and at stake because of the material, the content that youths, all of us really, are being exposed to online. Obviously, the government is cluing in to some efforts by some bad actors out there to pull people down into very deep, dark places. As many of us are aware of. I think there's an increasing awareness of it. Whether the government is equipped, prepared to really deal with this effectively, I don't know. But we have to keep our eyes on this and also make sure that whatever, and I don't know that we have much control over it until we get a new government in place, but if they are going to make use of this kind of legislation, the real question is, will it really have the intended effect, or will we get unintended consequences? Or will they use the legislation to go beyond what the stated intent is and to target the public for increased censorship and control? That is the concern coming back on this when you refocus your attention on the government itself. As I say, we'll continue to monitor that. Now, I guess I should address this situation with the U.S. Airman who set himself ablaze outside that Israeli embassy, a U.S. military service member, set himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy in Washington over the weekend. It appears to be, well, he states it very clearly, an act of protest against the Israeli military action in Gaza. And I'll tell you, I've been shocked, even though I shouldn't be. It should be predictable. It doesn't surprise me, but it still shocks me. The response that I'm seeing to this online, especially from many prominent political commentators. So Aaron Bushnell, what does he do? He's a U.S. Airman. He walks up to the embassies, live streaming, and I don't know if I probably will get hammered if I run you any of the video. I've got the video. I was going to run a clip, but I'll probably get the whole freaking channel taken down if I run it. Not that I want to show you him setting himself on fire, but what he said leading up to it. It's telling. And when I say that, what I mean is he talks about colonialism. He talks about being complicit in genocide. It's the political narrative that he has stuck in his head, and he says that he won't participate in it anymore. Let me take a very short break. I'm gonna check something to see if I can safely or run this portion of the video where he's speaking, to see if I can run that safely or not. So just give me one moment, because I'd like to share that portion with you so you can hear this in his own words, but I don't know if I am able to without violating some sort of a crazy rule that prevents us from doing that. So don't go away. I'm going to be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I've got it. Let me bring this up for you. Okay. Wrong tab. Right idea. This one will do it. So you can see it full screen, I believe. There we go. So here's Aaron Bushnell. This is him walking up to the embassy, and listen. You can listen to what he has to say. This is his message. I'm reluctant to even share this with you because, you know, there's an old school rule in journalism that you don't share much information when people kill themselves because you don't want to highlight or highlight their death, because especially if what they're seeking is attention, because it may encourage others to do the same. And that's why I'm going to cut this very, very short. I'm not going to run all of it, but I want you to listen to the language, the exact words that he's saying, and I'm sure that you'll recognize some of what he says here.
No. I am an active duty member of the United States Air Force, and I will no longer be complicit in genocide. I'm about to engage in an extreme act of protest, but compared to what people have been experiencing in Palestine at the hands of their colonizers, it's not extreme at all. This is what our ruling class has decided will be normal.
That's as far as I'm going to take it. Then he dumps what I'm assuming is gasoline or a flammable liquid on himself. And he set himself on fire and screamed, "Free Palestine," several times. Talking about the colonizers, colonial settlers. It's that ideology. We hear it here in Canada all the time, don't we? The colonizers, decolonization. His head's full of it. Other people's heads are full of it too, including people who are leading others. What was it exactly that triggered that act? I don't know. Well, we'll probably never know exactly what the one thing was, or the culmination. It's probably a culmination of things, a combination of things that he's been exposed to, the information that's driven him to do that, plus his own personal experiences as a military service guy. It's like, but here's the thing that really rubs me. You got people like Cornell West, who posts this. Let us never forget the extraordinary courage and commitment of brother Aaron Bushnell, who died for truth and justice. I pray for his precious loved ones Let us rededicate ourselves to genuine solidarity with Palestinians undergoing genocidal attacks in real time. They're martyring him. Trying to turn him into a hero because he killed himself. In my view, and this is me editorializing, he is no hero. He's a victim. He's a victim. A victim of a radicalized ideology and an information war that has infected his mind, or did infect his mind, with information that somehow twisted his perception of the rule. That combined with his own personal experiences and his call to duty, which he found to be in direct conflict, unable to reconcile two polar opposites within his mind and his very existence. What to do? There's nothing heroic about doing that. That's just a waste. A waste of a man, a waste of a life. I don't agree with the view that he's some sort of a hero. They're just making him a martyr. They're using him. They're exploiting him for a political purpose. I think it's gross. Mourn him, yes. Put him on a pedestal? No way. That only leads to more of this. And that is at the center of the very ideology that results in acts of terror. Suicide bombers who are rewarded with accolades, praise, promises of instant passage into the afterlife, heaven, if you will. And we know that those who subscribe to that ideology also are promised that their families will be taken care of when they are gone. It is that ideology that promises instant passage into an afterlife of harmony. Now, I don't know what Aaron Bushnell's religion was, but I clearly see that his mind was conflicted, that he was in pain before he ever lit the flame. But that pain came from twisted thoughts and twisted ideas that convinced him that the way to help get to a solution was to sacrifice himself. No, we're poorer today because we've lost him. We're not better off. And I would say we are further away from a solution because what he did just sends the wrong message to people who might turn around and do exactly the same thing his action may indeed, in the end, really just end up costing more lives and twisting more minds, immersing more people in pain.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey everybody, I'm Rick Walker, inviting you to join us tomorrow night, Tuesday, February 27th, for the Durham by-election All Candidates Forum. We'll explore the local and national issues because the whole world is watching. That's right here on the Maverick News Channel at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Fighting the Great Reset. By leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
I'm back. All right, so have you guys seen this high-speed auto theft from a high-end dealership, a Jaguar Land Rover dealership in the Chicago area, involving like 9 vehicles? It makes the OJ Bronco chase look like he was riding a tricycle. These kids get into this Jaguar Land Rover dealership and they drive these things right out. They find the keys. 9 kids, teenagers. I don't even think they're really, I guess they're maybe barely old enough to drive, 16, 17 years old, somewhere in that range, the one kid for sure. They get in here and they hijack these things and take them out. Let me just cue this up, make sure I've got the right tab open. Here we go. Okay. We've got this. Okay, so here's the video. This is security camera footage from the car dealership itself. They run in. They're looking for the keys. They're all dressed in black, as you can see. And then they just back right out through this door, garage door, smashing it. So they had, let's see, how many vehicles did they steal here? 9 vehicles in total. And 9 suspects. Off down the road they go. But the alarms went off. Police were alerted pretty quickly. And without much delay, the cops jumped into action. So they were finally able to find some of the vehicles and went into hot pursuit. Crash, 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 crash. And that happened. One of the vehicles was crashed. They came to a stop. These vehicles in total worth well over $500,000. And these are the documents outlining the charges that have been laid against one of the suspects, a 17-year-old from the Chicago area. So police have now made that arrest. However, they are still looking for the 8 other suspects in relation to this high-speed auto theft involving high-end Jaguar Land Rover SUVs. Pretty bold. And do you know what the kid said to the cops, apparently, after he was arrested? He said, "I was just doing kid stuff." That's pretty expensive kid stuff. Wow. Wow. All right, so I think that gets us through most of the top stories of the day. Let's fire up the phones, shall we? And we'll take some calls on the other side. I'll need a couple of minutes to get this thing set up. Just bear with me while I get logged into the phone system. As you know, I'm here alone tonight, so do my best to get in, and there we go. And we will we'll get this thing set up right here. Okay, let me run a couple of little promos while I click some buttons, folks. I'll be back on the other side of this.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! Mr. Bugs!
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
Okay, guys, I've just about got this all set up here. Just a few more things to click, and then we'll go to the phones. There we go. Need to keep my audio clear while I click on these buttons so I can hear. Sorry for the silence. I can not chew a lot of gum while I walk at the same time. There we go. Okay. Excellent. We're ready to go live with the phones. And the phone lines are set up and ready to go. So let me run the a couple of these little things here while I just click on the last buttons, but we are ready to rock and roll. I'll get the number up on the screen for you here. There you go. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now at 1-319-527-6770. That's 1-319-527-6770. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-319-527-6770. Call now at 1-319-527-6770. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Hey everybody, I'm Rick Walker, inviting you to join us tomorrow night, Tuesday, February 27th, for the Durham by-election All Candidates Forum. We'll explore the local and national issues because the whole world is watching. That's right here on the Maverick News Channel at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Phone lines are set up. We're ready to go. Let's go to our first caller of the night. Who do we have on the line?
What's up, Rick?
Hello. How are you, sir?
How you doing?
I am fine, Dragon. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Well, good to hear from you, too. Actually, I got a little something that I was thinking about, and it's kind of a anthropological thing. Well, let's see, okay? We're living into some sort of turmoil time, right? It's a second Cold War that we are having right now with the cultural war and even the free speech, if you will, and the info war. Am I right?
Sure. Yeah. If I'm following you. Okay.
So, what we're living, and I speak for a lot of people with loud voice, I would say, around, okay? For our friend here, okay? I want you to put in your mind the thing that, first thing that happened in Cold War, and I mean back in the 80s, okay?
I'm sorry, when you say our friend, are you referring to Aaron Bushnell, the person who set himself on fire? Or someone else?
Sorry?
Who are you referring to?
Well,
what are we talking about
well,
here?
I'm referring about our friends on the chat and, you know, like what's going on with, you know, the trolls or, you know, our friends like Leo, for example, with his way of speak, all right?
Okay.
Well, in a way, our government is looking at people speaking like us, you know, having those kind of course of language, if you will. And doing that, okay, it's easy to put, say, Leo or another people, even you, okay, you could be targeted because it's easy to take those people speech and, you know, turn it in a way, you know, like taking someone out of his way of speech, right? So basically, we need to be pretty careful, and that's why you, Rick, actually, you're trying to warn us about this, and I'm trying to warn people, and actually, probably, what you're trying to tell us for the few days, there's also something else behind it that you're probably not saying, but I mean, it goes along with what Trudeau's trying to do with our speech and the laws that he's putting in place. And I mean, Cold War back in the 80s was pretty dangerous for not only journalists, because back in the days we didn't have internet, but they were medias, right? And they were targeted by whatever kind of people with some kind of ideas in their head, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is one reason why you're trying to put your chat on a clean kind of slate. And I mean, I think people need to understand that.
Oh, definitely. That's one of the
Am I
reasons.
right?
Oh, absolutely. Because if people say things that it can even be interpreted as being potentially illegal.
That's it.
The cops will come down on people. I've seen it. I've shown people stories where people who have said things in conference calls online, on social media posts, they've been charged with crimes. And that's the reality. So you have to watch what you say. I just ran a video the other night. You know, somebody makes a phone call to Chrystia Freeland's office, and it's interpreted as being threatening. Cops show up on the guy's door. You say something in the chat
Right.
that can be interpreted, even interpreted that way, you could end up in jail. Other people in the chat could be implicated in it. But I don't, I guess people have to be told these things. It just seems pretty self-evident to me. But yes, Dragon, you're absolutely right. It's me trying to protect people.
Yep. And I mean, it's what we call inflammable speech, right? Can be taken out of proportion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, for example, if I say, we need Trudeau to be held accountable for what he did, if there's something unconstitutional about what he did, well, any loonies could say, oh, well, I can probably take that into my hand. And this is where maybe I would be put in jail because I just said something that might be taken out of proportion.
Yes. It has to reach a certain standard for legal action, of course, but yes. Even when you're sitting there saying he has
And for
to be held
example,
accountable,
Nixon,
yeah.
back in the Cold War, he was looking at people speaking this way. You know,
Oh, yes.
everyone and a lot of journalists has been assassinated in every country for what we would call dissident speech.
Yes.
So this is like very troublesome.
Yes. And if you are in a chat
So
room with people who
that
are...
was my idea tonight.
And plus, if you're in a chat room with even one person who is talking like that, they're going to look at everybody in the chat room. And you're going to all end up on the radar for the actions of that person. So you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it works. Not that I'm not shy about covering politics and controversial subjects, but in no way am I going to do anything illegal here. And I don't want anything being taken out of context. And that's, again, why I can't tolerate people coming here engaging in that kind of talk. It's not what we're about here. So if you want to talk like that, there are other places to go. Go ahead. Like, I'm not stopping you. Go ahead. Go away. Why do you have to do it here? Some of these people are, I don't know, Dragon. It's like, if I'm telling people this isn't the place, go someplace else to do that. I don't know why they have to stick around.
Right. But it's true that everyone is kind of stretching on every ways with the way that the government and all the tension that we have in a social fabric kind of thing. Everyone is kind of, being stretched out. And at some point, it's normal that people like us are, kind of afraid or we feel like the need to say something about what's going on and how we feel about it, and probably that sometimes we don't think first about saying things, but we go along some lines and probably beyond the lines that we shouldn't. So we need
Yeah.
to be careful.
That's
And
right.
mostly today's with the new laws that change, you need to be careful too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
careful, guys. Cold War #2. We need to look back in the history and not make the same mistake.
That's right. It's pretty simple stuff, really. I mean, I've had so many people messaging me because of, what we're doing here to just try and clean up the chat room and clean up even some of the language that and the messaging that I'm seeing, even with some of the guest appearances here. I can't have it, and but a lot of messages
Right.
coming in, and what I'm really seeing here is because this is a new medium, social media's still something in its infancy. Governments are trying to find the proper path forward to find the right balance between the right balance for freedom of speech, and we're trying to find that here as well. And it was interesting. I received a response which I've not responded to, but somebody messaged me and with a lot of concerns. It was a very, very long, complex message. I don't think the person sending it to me realized how complex the scenario was that was being painted. But what's happening here is I've tried to leave this forum, the chat room, as wide open as possible. And in a way, it has been an exercise in, even if you want to call it common law, because there's been no specific rules in play other than the external pressures from YouTube, Facebook, which I've tried to address in different ways, talking about Kool-Aid instead of the thing in the arm, stuff like that. But what this is showing really is that a common law, like a strict common law or natural law system, doesn't really work because it results in a degree of anarchy where there's no truly defined set of rules. So people are always pushing the boundaries, and you get some people who they're looking for some structure, and they're looking for it because they want their rights protected from other people, while other people are trying to take advantage of a wide open system and say that no rules really apply to me. I can just say anything I want at any time, as much as I want, and there should be no restrictions on me. But that's not really realistic. But that is the canyon in opinion, but the canyon between opinions, or even the reality, you see, because some people, everybody can't speak all the time. There has to be a limit. How much time does somebody get? There's only so much time here. There's only so much space in the chat. So how much attention does one person get? It has to be divided up. Where's the fairness in that? What are you allowed to say? What aren't you allowed to say? If it's just a common law, straight up system where there's no governing body, the only real law is the natural law, which is to say there are, some loose, understood rules that come to bear. Like if you shoot somebody, maybe you get an eye for an eye. That's a very basic natural law, maybe principle, right? And a common law system,
Right.
it has to be built over time as well. So, John shot my brother, so I shot John's brother. And now there's a precedent set. You shoot my...
And I shot the sheriff.
Right, and then... So it's the same thing with this. It's not clear. And everybody's trying to push the boundaries. So I've had to come in from time to time and, tighten things up and say, no, you got to go over there and you got to calm down over here. And then people push back and say, oh, now you're being a fascist, or you don't believe in free speech. But that's not fair. And I'm being accused as well of not taking
No,
control of the
as
chat.
you say, the
sooner,
keyword
right?
is structure.
Yeah, structure.
Yeah, the keyword is structure, as you said.
And you get that structure in a society through codified law, a criminal code. That's why in a modern justice system, you not just a common law, natural law, every man for himself kind of a thing, where there's no king, no monarchy, no government. The laws of the land don't apply to me. I'm a sovereign citizen. No, in a modern society and I'm not a lawyer. I'm just doing my best here as a journalist. But in a modern society, you have like written down rules through a constitution, which is part of your legal system, and then through a code of laws, written down laws, bylaws, a criminal code. And now because it's written down, everybody knows what those rules are. And it gets to be very complicated because you get tons and tons of laws but now it's written down. Everybody knows what the law is. All the lawyers know what the law is. You're supposed to know what the laws are. That's why they say, ignorance is no excuse, or no, how's the phrasing go? Because I'm losing my train of thought. Ignorance is no defense, right? Ignorance of the law is no defense. You can't say, well, I didn't know. Well, yes, you should have known because these laws are written down in a book. It's called the Criminal Code of Canada. You're not just relying then on, whatever the mob decides later after you've committed some sort of a thing that is deemed to be a crime by your neighbors, and then you get lynchings in the public square. That's anarchy. That's a common law system. Not even a common law system, but it is it's a natural law, right? It's just like, well, we know because it's natural law. You shouldn't kill anyone. Murder is wrong. Killing is wrong. Well, it's a little more sophisticated than that, and that's where we're at with this experiment in the chat. In a way, it's like I've said, I had to come forward and say, please don't do this. This is not good, because we also have these external pressures from government, the Canadian government, the US government, the social media companies, which own the platform. So even though you can view Maverick land or the channel as a sovereign digital state, you have these other external bodies which come to bear with external rules that are overlaid on what we're doing here. So it's kind of like being Finland or Mexico or Canada or Ukraine living next to a superpower. You can only do so much because the superpower is still going to dictate to you how far you can go with anything. And so in this case, you're going to have Google, YouTube, Facebook, the federal governments telling you, no, you can't say these things or you could go to jail or you're going to get your channel banned. So there are rules in place. And when people come here, I'm thinking that everybody is already familiar with most of these laws and rules, which come to bear from an external place, because they're citizens of the country. And when they come here into this digital sovereign territory, they have to be aware that there's still these other external rules that are in play. But some people think that it doesn't matter, or really what it comes down to, Dragon, is a lot of the people coming here either don't care or they intentionally will still engage in that kind of language and talk because they want to damage the channel. They want to have it taken down. They want to get strikes against us, so they'll say these things anyway. Or they're so passionate about whatever subject it is, whether it's vaccines or some other issue, that they'll just blurt out whatever they want to say and not give a damn about the ramifications or the effect that it has on the channel here. And when they do that, it's very disrespectful, because it means that if we do get penalized here, everybody else loses their voice. But that one person got to say that one thing that they thought was going to change the whole world at that particular moment, or they did it because they knew it was going to get the channel taken down and they don't like what we're doing here, and that was really what their true intent was. And there's a whole lot of that that's been going on. And it's going on even tonight in the chat. To some degree, I'm seeing it on one of the channels anyway. So, because they're just being disruptive.
Yeah, I can see it on the YouTube chat, and it's kind of funny. But I would like to say those people that they're not inside the prison made of concrete. I mean, they still have their voice. It's just that the wording can be taken in a certain way that might not be helpful for you or for themselves.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't, Dragon.
And don't forget, guys,
here's
you
the thing.
are in Cold War #2.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even understand, honestly, Dragon, why. Well, I do. I think I do. But I'm not forcing anybody to stay here. If these people don't like what we're doing, they're free to leave at any time. I'm not, this is no prison. You can leave. But no, they'd rather come into the chat and cause problems, be disruptive, be insulting, try to say things to get me upset. They just want me to ban them is what they're doing in there. They're just poking me to get me to do it so that they can then turn around and say, he's not about free speech, but they're just being malicious. So I'm watching them and I'm laughing because it's so juvenile and stupid and yet so harmful, so destructive, and they don't believe in free speech at all. They're in there trying to steal your free speech. That's what they're doing right now on YouTube. So you keep that in mind, folks, when, as you're sitting here watching the show, or if you go in the chat, what they're doing is they're scaring other people away. They're damaging the channel. They're making sure that other people who would like to come here and participate in the chat and have intelligent discussions, they're not allowed to. They're being pushed out. There's no room for them because people who do want to have intelligent discourse in there, they don't want to participate in it because it's just a bunch of hooligans being a bunch of jerks. It's unfortunate, but they've poisoned it. And they're, and then I have people who are supposed to be helping the channel saying, we're banning all the trolls. No, you are the damn trolls. Right? Or they are the trolls. So I've got the trolls pushing the real people away because we've got a whole gang of them in there. It's a gang, is what it is. Now I'm happy to have the people stay if they would just be respectful and say intelligent things.
Right, because I have even to bite my tongue once in a while too. It's like, I think it's for my good and for everyone's good. So.
Yep. Anyway, I mean, and unfortunately,
but
the other thing, Dragon, is that these people are winning because you and I are sitting on here talking about this tonight. So instead of talking about the news of the day or the issues that really affect the country, we're sitting here having this discussion, which in a way is still worthwhile because it's highlighting a real problem that is still affecting the country. And it's all on display right now in the chat. And the problem in this case is not the government. So I think everybody should start to look internally for what the real problem is in this case.
Exactly. Because you need to free your own free speech. And to free your free speech, it needs to be a minimum clean, Mm-hmm. So you need to have like that message well cleared past.
Yeah.
This is the way I feel.
So, these people
But on that, I will say, I will free the free speech of someone else. And, there's other people who's called in, so.
Sure.
I'll leave that free speech to someone. So thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Dragon.
Nice to be enlightened, and wish you all a good night.
Excellent. Okay, folks. You can call in at 1-319-527-6770. And no, not everybody in the chat. And honestly, guys, I'm not really looking that closely at the YouTube. I was in there earlier, and I saw a few people making the comments, and I know who the actors are, and you do too, I think, if you're really paying any attention. And they are not your friends. They're certainly no friend of the channel. And if you don't like it, nobody's keeping you here, as I said. I don't know what else to say. It's just so stupid. But we're going to continue to take steps to try and clean things up here. That's my goal. I've had enough. Enough. I will return after this. Hey everybody, I'm Rick Walker, inviting you to join us tomorrow night, Tuesday, February 27th, for the Durham by-election All Candidates Forum. We'll explore the local and national issues because the whole world is watching. That's right here on the Maverick News Channel at 7 p.m. Eastern.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now at 1-319-527-6770. That's 1-319-527-6770. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-319-527-6770. Call now at 1-319-527-6770. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. We're back. And you can join the conversation at 1-319-527-6770. That's the new number. We are using the new phone system. It is more cost effective because around here we pinch our pennies. We need to because, well, there's no government funding here, folks. That is for sure. If you want to support the show, you can do that by donating at maverickdonations.com. Maverickdonations.com. Let me get that up on the screen there for you. Right there, maverickdonations.com. That's the Give, Send, Go. So you can donate that way. Most people, though, donate over here at freedomreporters.com. That's through the PayPal link. If you do donate and you contribute $30 or more, we would be happy to send you a t-shirt, a Maverick News t-shirt, or an Exile the Knights of Malta t-shirt in honor of our good friend Chusey and friend of the channel. freedomreporters.com. You can also donate through the Rumble Rants if you'd like to do that. If you can't afford to, please don't. If you're that short, if you're struggling and you got nothing, and you're just having trouble making ends meet, don't donate. Okay? That's not what I want. But if you can support us and would like to, and you like what we're doing here, of course, we appreciate the support. Yeah, what else was I going to say? Let me just check the system. I got to get the banner back up for the phones here. So yeah, the new number is 1-319-527-6770. 1-319-527-6770. There's a lot of stuff going on over there today. I'd be very interested in hearing, especially from new people this evening. And I'd like to talk to people about, the situation with oil, the war on oil, Justin Trudeau, his feud with Western Canada. Where do you think that's going? Will the country remain together? Are all of these issues likely to deepen the divide and maybe even put the unity of the country in jeopardy? What about this U.S. Airman who set himself on fire? I'm interested in other views on that as well. Obviously a sensitive issue related to what's going on in Gaza. I have my view on it. I am very interested in the opposite point of view, where some people are portraying him as a hero, someone they're putting up on a pedestal, making the ultimate sacrifice in order to free Palestine. I find the whole thing horrific, but that's my own personal perspective on it. I'd be very interested in getting an alternative point of view. So again, the number to call, 319-527-6770. Just going to check the chat and see what's going on in there. And Urban Angel says, wait until the Just Stop Oil unemployed morons start disrupting traffic like they do all over the UK. Yeah, the environmentalists, they're certainly opposed to oil and have been sorry, I'm trying to read here at the same time. Oh, here's Jilly Bean. Well, there's a positive comment. Thank you, Jilly Bean. Appreciate the positive feedback. I love Rick in the chat. Well, somebody at least likes me. Thank you. And I'm just scrolling back a little bit to kind of catch up on what some of these chats are saying. And Gina's there. Hello, Gina. Sandy is there. Choosy is there, who says, I hope Knights of Malta... Oh, I can't read that. Gucci says, who's winning, Rick? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's winning. That's... I'll let others assess that tonight. You tell me. Call in and tell me who's winning. Rick, you don't believe the government has any effect on... I don't know. I didn't say that. You don't believe the government has any effect on Canadians? Of course they do. I'm not sure what that means, Gucci. I don't know what that means. Of course the government has an effect. They have a huge effect on every aspect of our lives. Jilly Bean says, urban angst, I don't know what that means. There's a lot of things in here I don't quite know what they are referring to. Again, call at 1-319-527-6770. What else you saying? There's Johnny Cash. Hello, Johnny Cash. Hello, Canada RV. Magic Moon says, call in, Gucci. Oh, Gail. Hello, Gail. She says, keep up the good work. Thank you. Gail will, I think, be joining us on the program tomorrow night for our All Candidates Forum, which I'm really looking forward to. And we have had a bunch of the candidates confirm that they will be here tomorrow evening to participate. So I'm really looking forward to the discussion, and we'll be promoting this all day through the day tomorrow up in the Durham area and beyond, because the country really is looking at that riding. I certainly am. I see that the issues there are really largely the same issues that are affecting the country as a whole. So as this by-election takes place, I think it'll give us an indication of where the mood is at with the whole country. The Overton window, if you will, the political Overton window on these issues, from family issues, the environment, climate change. In fact, in Durham, they have actually, the local council there, like some other councils, has declared a climate emergency. So I'm looking forward to getting some comments from the candidates tomorrow night about that aspect of things. Plus, you're seeing a lot of immigration up in the Toronto, Oshawa, Hamilton area, in Durham. And then that, of course, is putting pressure on the housing market. So I'm really interested in listening to the various perspectives on that issue. Inflation, the wars in Ukraine, Gaza, how these candidates view those conflicts and how they think that's impacting the local riding there and our country, how they would approach it. As I said, that war in Ukraine in particular, very unpopular. When I was looking in the chat or the comments section rather, it's not so much chat, but the comments section on that CBC YouTube channel earlier today, when I was looking at that story about the $3 billion in additional funding for Ukraine from the Canadian government. Every comment, I swear, 100%, at least at the time when I was looking, 100% of the comments, all negative, anti-funding, anti-war, very negative toward the government. As I say, that's not scientific. Maybe CBC was just being flooded with a bunch of a coordinated messaging attack from their political opponents or something. I don't know. But man, it was overwhelmingly against more funding for Ukraine. I was surprised. I thought there would be a mix of comments on the CBC YouTube channel, but nope. Okay, let's get to our next caller here on the phone. Okay, go ahead. Who do we have on the line?
Well, is it Gina that you're hearing?
Is this Gina?
Oh,
hello.
Yeah, it's Gina.
Gina, how are you tonight?
Hi. I'm doing all right. You want to talk about what's going on in Alberta? I'm really excited about what's going on in Alberta, Rick. I think it's fantastic what's going on out there. And she's, got those pipelines just about ready to go. I'm really excited about what she's going to prove to the rest of Canada. I think that, she's going to be a great example for the other leaders to hopefully kind of follow suit. That's my hope anyways, that they're going to see what great things that are going to happen with Alberta, and they're going to want the same for their provinces too, and they're going to realize exactly what, the federal government has done to the rest of the provinces, and maybe it might make them wake up and see things a little bit.
She is, what's the right word for her? She is, she's a leader, for sure. She's not afraid to stand her ground. She's not afraid to forge her own path. I think she's been a good premier. It's a tough gig being the premier of a province or a prime minister. When you get elected and you make promises to people, you're instantly going to make waves when you start conducting the affairs of your office. What am I saying? I'm saying that as soon as she got elected, people almost instantly started to criticize her, even the people who were excited about getting her elected, because they were saying, oh no, she's not living up to her promises. But man, it's tough for a politician to follow through and deliver on every promise, especially in the short term. And some of those expectations with Danielle Smith, I think, were unrealistic. Like the expectation that she would intervene in the court case with the Coots 4, right? Or intervene in the court case with Arthur Pavlovsky, the pastor who was charged during the pandemic and so on. Because it's inappropriate. It's not even really legal for a premier to get involved in a specific court case. Nor would I want that to happen, because then your system becomes instantly corrupt, where the premier of the province could just say to someone who was a criminal, oh no, you're pardoned, it's okay. The president of the United States has that power, but in that particular case, I do see some benefit to it, simply because I think it should be reserved for pardoning people who are charged with political crimes or crimes that are alleged offenses that maybe relate to geopolitical situations where U.S. law has been inadequate to deal with it in a fair manner. Anyway, that's a whole separate ball of wax. But yeah, Gina, I think you're right. I think that she is popular out in Alberta, and it is an exciting time. But do you think that the country is going to experience deeper divide as a result of Danielle Smith's digging her heels in on the oil issue in particular?
Actually, I think that Danielle Smith, as time goes by, she's going to, prove a lot of people, wrong. And I think that she's going to just, she's going to do the best that she can within her powers, I think, to keep Canada together. If anything, she's at least going to keep Alberta together, and she can prove that, once you can see that, you see a province, okay, with a leader that actually wants to work with the province instead of with the federal government, and actually sees that there's a difference in the people, because the people feel like they're being heard, possibly for the first time in a long time. And so having the experience of having somebody like her in place, once people start to realize exactly what she's done, what she's creating, I think that if anything, I see people from all other provinces going to Alberta, and I see that there's a lot of people that see the exact same thing that I see. And what I see is that, there's beautiful things to come, especially out of Alberta, and I think that she's just the beginning. I think that, like I said, the other leaders are going to see what kind of support that, people are getting so much, like she's getting so much support. She's got people moving from all over Canada, and some people from the States, because they really like what she's doing. So, I conquer and divide. I think that's the goal of the government. I think no matter what thing you try to do, I think that, when JT wants to come to Alberta and not bother to mention to her that he's there, that speaks volumes all on its own. So I think that really the reality here is that JT is, showing who he is and what little respect he has for her, or possibly even Alberta, just all the same, but, for her specifically. And, as long as he keeps doing that, the reality is more and more people are going to get interested in what Danielle is doing, because of the fact that he doesn't like her, and he's actually bringing more attention to her, which in in good aspects, it might wake some more people up to actually being aware of what's going on. You know, he might be shooting himself in the foot, right? So I guess we'll have to wait and see how this all kinds of pans out, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it. I think it's great. I think what she's doing is fantastic, and you know, I support her. And if I was out there and I could get in her riding, man, I'd be right behind her. But you know, I mean, she's a great example and has made me think about, you know, jumping in the politics realm myself. And not that I haven't thought before, but you know, watching somebody like her and seeing that she's able to do it, well, you know, that might give, you know, people, you know, like me, or you know, that have had the inkling to maybe step up and say, you know what, I like what she has to say, and if we can kind of follow on suit with what she's doing, we know she's staying within the legal guidelines with what she's doing, right? So I
Did
mean,
you know?
all in all,
Did you hear that? Did you hear that Alberta is going to opt out of that national pharmacare program that the NDP has negotiated with Justin Trudeau?
I actually think it's great, and I think that they, you know, have got to get out of the CPP too. And I think it's also great too, because what's happening there, Rick, is that they are. I think it's hilarious because now the government is having to answer where all the funds are. They're going to have to explain everything, and it's all going to become public notice. So I think actually what she's doing here and what she's, you know, bringing forward is truth into Parliament, into Canadian Parliament. And because of her actions of doing this, she's gonna, you know, basically, you know, she's playing chess, right? And you know, I mean, and she's strategically playing the game right, at least in my opinion. I think what she's doing, exposing one thing after the other and tipping it over and seeing what's actually holding it up inside and discovering that it's all built on lies and showing this to the Canadian people, I think is fantastic.
Well, it's interesting to see that the Alberta government is saying that if this pharmacare program moves forward, they will opt out and instead take they want to take their share of the money for the pharmacare program and instead direct it straight into the healthcare system as a whole, instead of providing free medications for, I guess, a portion of the population, right? So
I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think it's going to take the power away from pharmacy.
In what respect? What do you mean?
Well, right now, I mean, right now a lot of pharmacy gets, you know, I mean, they're the first ones to, you know, get. But I mean, if this can expose things and open things up and maybe make people see things from a different perspective of that, there may be another alternative aside from the pharmacy option. And wouldn't that be great for that to be able to be exposed to average
you're still going to
right?
go to the pharmacy. It's just that the bills are, I guess, to a larger degree going to be paid through national pharmacare programs, so your prescriptions would be covered, or at least for a larger portion of the population. I'm not entirely up to speed on the details of this agreement between the NDP and the Liberals, which will keep Justin Trudeau in power for a longer period of time, because if that deal had not been struck, we would have seen the supply and confidence agreement come to an end at the beginning of this coming month, and that means that the NDP would no longer be propping up the Liberal government. But now with this deal, it means that the government still has the support of the NDP. Trudeau stays in power longer. That means we're not going to the polls, folks, this spring.
That's right. That's right. We're not. None of that, you know, it doesn't matter what anybody wants to think at this point. That the polls aren't coming anytime soon. And this has just been, you know, I mean, having, you know, Quebec jump in and do what they did was just kind of a way to get some pressure off of NDP temporarily anyways. And so, no, nobody's going anywhere. There isn't going to be any election anytime soon. I don't suspect that, you know, and I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, there's a lot of people that are really hopeful and they think that it's going to happen, but I don't suspect that it will. I think that they're gonna hold on as long as they possibly can before they, until they are on their last strand, literally, that's holding them up, and then they will let go. Until then, they're going to hang on, keep the power, and transfer the money, because not all the money's been transferred yet, and they're not, so their job isn't complete. And unfortunately, that means that, people got to wake up before the rest of the money gets transferred and start, putting their foot down and figuring out what they're going to do to, make it a better life for themselves, because, things might get tight for a while, and I really hope people is watching their own back.
Okay, give me rapid fire response to a couple of these issues, okay? Real short comments as I go down the list of these stories from tonight. The alleged attempted assassination of Tucker Carlson and the arrest of that guy in Moscow for that alleged crime. Do you believe it or not, and why?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just drama.
Okay.
It's short and sweet. There you go.
The Airman who set himself on fire while shouting "Free Palestine" in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington. Martyr or victim, or do you have another view on that? Is he a hero? How do you view it?
I would say martyr. Dying for a cause is better than, fighting for a cause that you're never going to win. At least when you die, at least you feel like you've accomplished something, right? Because you've done something for the collective, or however you want to call it. I don't know. That's kind of my thinking personally, anyway.
So you think these people propping him up as some sort of hero are doing the right thing, or am I misreading what you're saying?
No. He's not a hero at all. I mean, they might think that, like, in their perspective, they may consider him a hero. But that's not my perspective of it. Their perspective may be, like the martyr thing, he's the hero because that's what they were taught, right? Like, they think that that's, the ultimate sacrifice is to be a martyr. And I understand that concept because, right now, there's anybody and everybody is trying to die with honor if they're dying, and so I kind of get that. Why somebody would choose that, nobody knows why people ultimately choose that, except for they don't feel that there's another way, or they don't see that there's another option, right? So that's the only option they have, is to make that choice. And they'll be honored for that in their religion, for the choice that he's made. And, his family will always be honored for that. And, and so if you're looking for honor and, being praised on the back, and if that's what's important to you, then yeah, absolutely, right? To me, that doesn't work, with my way of thinking, but it obviously, for people like that, it does. That's the way that they're raised. They're different than us.
Yeah, I see comments coming in here now too, saying that over on the Rumble channel, we're getting freezing again, and I really apologize, folks, if you're able to even see this. And I do see that it is freezing up over there. I do not know why that is happening. It happened last night. It's happening again now, and I don't understand it. I just don't understand why it's doing that. Very frustrating. I do apologize, and if it's frozen, the people I need to apologize to aren't even hearing this. But I have no control over it, really. So, very sorry.
No.
So, let me just
No, that's not cool.
take a look. Maybe if I close some of these things off, it'll have some impact. But I don't think it's really anything I can control on this end.
Well, we can't always do everything, I guess. All we can do is the best that we can, right?
That's right. I don't think it's lost control. Very strange. That's 2 nights in a row. Are we being... That's probably the CIA. It's always the CIA. Here, you know what
Well,
I'm
we
going to
gotta
do?
blame somebody, don't we, Rick?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to disconnect, and then I'm going to reconnect the channel. And hopefully it just fixes it. There you go. Anything else you'd like to add tonight, Gina, or anything that I might be missing? With the channel frozen over there, the main channel on Rumble, yeah, that might be why we're not getting more people in the call queue. They maybe aren't even able to see us at the moment. Yeah. Let's take a quick break. Don't go away. Stay on the line with me, okay? Don't run away. I'm going to be right back. Hang on. Election All Candidates Forum. We'll explore the local and national issues because the whole world is watching. That's right here on the Maverick News Channel at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back, Gina. We are definitely like messed up over on Rumble. No idea what has caused this, but it's like, yeah, it's shut down. So with that, and given the time of night, I'm going to thank you and just kind of wrap things up here. Any final thoughts here tonight, Gina, before we sign off?
No, I think we're all good. Blessings to everybody, I guess I would say. And thanks for joining us tonight. And don't forget to hit the like button. How's that?
I like that. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, see ya. Bye. Gina calling in and helping out tonight. Yeah, that's probably why we weren't getting the number of calls that we normally would here, because our Rumble channel froze up. It is toast for the night, I guess. My apologies to everybody over there. I tried to fix it, but I don't know why it does that. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that for tomorrow, because we do have that All Candidates Forum at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. Special broadcast here on the Maverick News Channel. So make sure you tune in for that. We'd really appreciate you guys being here. Showing your support just by showing up is a big thing. Always grateful for that, and always grateful for just all the different forms of support that you guys provide here. So, as I say, be back tomorrow night with that special broadcast. And Gail Robertson will be joining us on the broadcast as well. I saw her in the chat there briefly. So, looking forward to participating in that forum tomorrow night with her and the candidates from Durham region. We'll explore all the local issues and the national issues, because quite literally the whole world is watching what goes on over there. Catch you tomorrow night on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.